Bleach Movie 2, The DiamondDust Rebellion is a film focusing on, at the time, Japan's most favorite Bleach character, Toshiro Hitsugaya, with someone important from his past, Kosaka Soichiro, appearing as the main antagonist. In concept, it is an interesting story, since there's an unfinished business between the captain of Squad 10 and Kosaka, which leads to Hitsugaya abandoning his post to solve it, which leads to him being labeled a traitor. Sadly, that doesn't go too well, as there is no reason why Kosaka is as powerful as he is prior to unleashing the power of the plot device Squad 10 supposed to protect, and that Kosaka has Arankal as well as Hollows under his command. As with almost all Bleach movies, the large cast makes it just a decent 90-minute film and can't get the most out of it. Meaning Inoue, Sado and Oyo get shafted like in most films in favor for Ichigo and the Shinigami. Meaning you have to prepare yourselves for a bunch of Bunkai releases eating runtime. Thus, there's not a single memorable scene that stands out, as many of the good ones are just inferior versions of the ones you have seen in the main story. As where the story could fit, it has to be before Ichigo fights Grimjoe the second time, with the Shinigami being brought back to Soul Society for whatever reason, and Aizen drinking tea or something. It may not fit to the main continuity, but at least that would be the place where you can be sure when to watch it. The character arc of Hitsugaya is fine, not something that impressive, but learning from Ichigo that he doesn't have to carry all the burden himself is a good message nonetheless. Kosaka has a good backstory, which will lead you to hate Central 46 even more, but as a villain, he seems rather underwhelming. There's justification for what he does, but not how easy he achieves his goals. We see a bit of Rangiku's struggle, but that isn't as impactful to the film despite being in second in command of Squad 10. Not to say she doesn't do anything, however. Kiraku, Nanao, Ukitake, Mayuri and Byakuya were coming in clutch in the investigation and analysis about the identity and truth about Kosaka, giving them a role besides receiving information, reacting and defeating enemies with their Shikai and Bankai. Fights themselves are really underwhelming, with the captains just showing off like always, and some annoying cliches like Soifon being incompetent so she can be rescued. However, Ichigo's first encounter with Kosaka had some good use of sharing swords through Zanbakuto clashing, decent use of abilities of one's weapons, and the enemies using teamwork in some visually pleasing way, instead of taking turns, which is usual for Bleach fights. Overall, this movie is average. The fights weren't memorable, and characters that should get more focus didn't get the care they needed. It's a shame that Kosaka, despite his backstory, didn't leave much of an impact as a character, since the plot device worked however the plot wanted it to be. Like the previous and later Bleach movies, it can't reach its full potential, lots of times wasting it for fan service instead. There are also too many characters and a generic slaughter of weak characters by the high tier Shinigami. But the finale is still good for Bleach movie standards. If you are a Toshiro Hitsugaya fan, give it a shot, you may like.